Welcome to BYOD 2.0 IP address management. In this video, we're going to discuss the concerns and the impact IP address management places on BYOD 2.0. So what is its impact on BYOD? We all know that there's a new explosive growth of network personal mobile devices, and the usage of these devices as it relates to IP address management has created a major management issue for all IT departments. In order to keep pace with this growth, we need a better solution that's going to be flexible, resilient, and simple for managing our IP addresses and our DNS and DHCP core network services. As we all know, we often take for granted that we can plug into a network, jump on the wireless, get an IP address, get DNS information, and seamlessly move about the network. But what happens if our DNS or DHCP core network services are poorly configured or the information we're using to configure these services is inaccurate? Why all the pressure around IP addresses? Back in 1996, one user typically meant one IP address. This user had a PC on his desk, and that was the only device he had. It was very easy for us to gauge and estimate the number of addresses we needed to support our users. Fast forward to 2011-2012, one user can mean multiple IP addresses. This user may have an IP phone on his desk. He may have a laptop that is IP connected on the Wi-Fi. He may have a desktop that's running multiple VMs and consuming multiple IP addresses. So one user now can use 3, 4, 5 IP addresses. So it becomes increasingly difficult for us to gauge the number of addresses we need to support our user community. And what we need is a solution that can be resilient and allow us to quickly adapt to this changing need. What are some of the initiatives around IPAM? Rolling out new services like wireless and IP telephony is a very large driver for the increase of our address space. Smartphone and tablet integration. Users are getting these devices now, purchasing them on their own, and wanting to use them at work. Bringing these devices to work now requires IP addresses, and it puts a greater demand on our address space. We see that when we roll out any of these new services, it can easily double or triple the number of addresses our organization needs to manage and support. The traditional way of managing our IP addresses via spreadsheets, in all likelihood, can increase the delay and outages of rolling out these new services. Typically, these spreadsheets are used by a number of people. The information placed in these spreadsheets is not often accurate, and usually we see that customers don't go back and clean up the address space. So here's a bad day for IPAM. Walk in the morning, you try to get on the network, and you receive a message saying that Windows has detected an IP address conflict. Worse than that, you try to get on the network, and your connection fails because you're unable to get an IP address. Maybe you've exhausted your DHCP space. You may also get a message via text from your server team saying they need 6 static IPs for some new servers they're rolling out. So not a good way to start your day. So what are the ways that we manage IP address management today? Shooting in the dark. We'll ping for an open address. If we don't get a reply, we assume the address is free. But are we ever really sure that that address is free? That address may live on the other side of a firewall, or that address may belong to a device that is currently just booting up. So we're never exactly sure that that address is free. A little better way is via a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets require very manual verification and entry, and usually the information is very sketchy at best. We have some people who are very thorough in the input of their information. Some people will just use the basic just to get the information in there and move on. So this leads to very large amounts of input errors, and who has the time to verify hundreds of static addresses via a spreadsheet? We have highly technical engineers working on projects, and they need to work on these projects instead of spending time going through a spreadsheet, trying to find out if that spreadsheet is accurate or not, and inputting that information. So some of the requirements around IPAM, again, we need a solution that's going to be flexible, resilient, so it has some redundancy. What is the case if we lose that spreadsheet that we're relying on to manage our IP address space? And simple for managing our IP address space. It should be something that maybe the help desk can do to start giving out IP addresses to users. IPAM enables us to manage, track, and assign IP addresses, networks, and host names, all from a single web-based management interface that we're all very familiar with. This provides the ability to centrally manage and monitor your IP address space and DNS and DHCP core services from a familiar web-based interface. An example here of one of these interfaces, you can select your network. Once you select your network, you can automatically pull down the next available IP address that's available. No longer looking at a spreadsheet, no longer pinging at something and trying to find out if it's free and shooting in the dark. We can put additional information here for our zones, a host name, a MAC address, and some fields for change control to maybe put reasons why this address is being used. So very customizable, no longer pinging in the dark, no longer going through a spreadsheet, being able to go to a web-based management interface and input this information. In our next video, we'll talk about some of the impacts and requirements around an IPAM solution. Thank you.